I want to tell you about this one mistake that I think I have done now 100 times. All of us make this mistake, and some of us are conscious and aware that we're making this mistake again and again and again, and some of us are not. And it just is not a sustained thing. It's not just a fun thing to experience in our lives. This mistake draws a lot of energy out of you. Let me explain. So, recently, I was on stage presenting at an event, and I went on stage, I was in my full glow, and I thought I was doing a good job, right? While I was on stage, I was enjoying it, I was having a good time, I felt people were having a good time, and as I got off the stage, I had doubt show up. I thought, maybe I was speaking too fast. Maybe I wasn't very clear in my ideas. Did I connect the stories right? Did they understand what I was really trying to say? Were they with me along the journey? Were they with me as I was presenting? Were we bonded? As I started to think about those, it dawned on me that I probably fucked up. And as I kept thinking about it, I found myself in this downward spiral where I was wondering or starting to wonder if I'm meant for stage. If I can do things impromptu, can I really be put on stage for communicating a complex idea? Will I do a good job if I was presenting to a really large audience? There were about 1,000 people in that room. And I went into this spiral. Have you found yourself in spirals like this where you think something was going okay and then something shifts in you and then suddenly you're in a downward spiral and you start to doubt everything that you previously were not doubting maybe even 5 minutes ago? If that has happened to you, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, because that's exactly where I was. I was feeling the energy of that downward spiral telling me that I wasn't good enough as a speaker, that I need to go back to really learning how to work with audience, how to really communicate my ideas to a large group of people. And this happened until I was off stage, maybe in like 10, 20 minutes, and my wife was also in the room. And she walks up to me, she holds my hands and says, "You did fantastic today, my love." And suddenly my energy shifted. And then my friend walks over from the other side, taps my shoulder and says, "Amazing job, brother." And my energy shifts again. And then as the sessions were closing out, I'm walking between people, some person stops me, one of my students stops me and said, "Ajit, it was so great to see you on stage." Another person stops me saying, "I watched so many YouTube videos of yours, Ajit, and it was so great to see you live in action, and you were such a great presenter." Another person stops me and say, "You were hilarious. It was so fun to watch you. It was so fun and light to engage with you from stage." And I realized that I had made up this whole story and my energy started to shift. We all think that the best way to regulate our emotions, best way to regulate our feelings is to go within and really sit with ourselves and think about our feelings. The best way and the fastest way to regulate our feelings is what I call relational regulation. Relational regulation means that you are regulating your emotions in relation with somebody else. We all know and have experienced to some degree that we feed off each other's energy. If you are with a positive, fun-loving group, you tend to become positive and fun-loving. When you are with negative Nellies, you tend to become a little bit negative. Well, when you are in your own spiel, you are in your mind, when you are stuck in your emotion roller coaster, if you find somebody to regulate that emotion with, like I did with my wife, or how my friend helped me regulate, or even the students that were just walking by making comments about how I was great on stage, my internal chatter started to slow down. It started to slow down. And as it slowed down, I recognized that's what I need more of. So my wife herself is an expert in regulating emotions. She's written amazing literature on it, and her new book, That's Sat Now What, also speaks about ideas on how to regulate your emotions. And so I ran over to her and I said, "Babe, I felt like I was speaking too fast, or I was like not communicating my ideas clearly. What do you think?" And then she understood what was really happening to me. So she held my both hands and started regulating my emotions, and also looking right into my eyes, started telling me how I really honestly did from her point of view. You see, while I was communicating my expression, my emotions with her, what was happening with her affirmations and her touch was I was getting regulated to understand that that was just my emotions, and I was able to process my emotions with her fairly quickly. There was a research done in hospitals, and what was done was they found that if somebody who wasn't well held hands of even a stranger that cared about this person just as a human being, the person would start to feel better. If the person is a loved one, the expression or feelings of feeling better are even faster and more profound. So if somebody who is physically ill can feel better simply by touching a stranger's hand, just by holding a stranger's hand, think how powerful it would be to regulate with someone that truly cares about you. And that is the first step, and that's what I got reminded of because of this chance coincidence. I was like, wow, I forgot about that. The best way to get out of my spiral is to regulate my emotions with someone, share what I'm feeling, have them reflect back as to what is the experience that they're having as I'm sharing that, and just be in presence of each other. Because when we are fully present with someone, we can see them beyond their emotions, beyond any judgment. Step 2 was to choose an empowered thought. You see, as my emotions start to settle, my rational mind or my ability to think through different options of life, different thoughts that I have in my life started to take over. And so I started to question what I was thinking. So my previous thinking was I was speaking too fast, that I was probably not connecting with my audience, that I was probably communicating an idea that was too big in too short a span of time. And because my rational mind now had turned on, I started to question these thoughts. Is it really true that I was speaking really fast? Is it really true that people didn't connect with the idea? Is it really true that I spoke a really complex idea in a really short period of time? And as I reflected on these questions, I realized a lot of these thoughts were just thoughts I was making up. They were not the truth of the matter. And so I chose a different thought. I said, what would be more empowering for me to know in this situation? What would be more empowering for me to know was that I had people clapping after my presentation was over. I had people coming up to me telling me that I did a great job, that I felt confident on stage and confident generally in the offer, the idea that I was presenting, that I really felt empowered of communicating and delivering something that I thought was powerful for individuals to receive. These were all empowered thoughts. I was acting from a place of service, that I was acting from a place of love, that I was acting from a place of providing people abundance and joy. And because of all those affirmative, empowered thoughts, I could snap out of my disempowered thoughts. I could snap out of thinking I was too fast or too slow or too big or too small or whatever that was. Like, it does not matter, because what really truly matters every single day for me, and I probably is true for you as well, is are we living in alignment with our values? Now here's the final step to this. Step 3 is take some aligned action. You see, a lot of us would stop at empowered thoughts. We were like, oh, now I do believe something positive about the situation, and so let's stop there. No. If you want to really reaffirm to yourself that your empowered thought is the thought that should stay with you, if you really want to reaffirm to yourself that whatever that is the disempowered thought that showed up was untrue, is you take aligned action in the direction of the empowered thought. In this instance, what I did was I booked myself into another speaking opportunity. I found myself another speaking opportunity that was happening just a few weeks later. And I did that because I knew if I want to continue to believe that I act from a place of love and service, that I contribute, that every single time I get on stage, your life will be changed. I must stay in aligned action to that and keep getting on stages where I can impact human beings in a positive, more affirmative way. Now you may wonder, Ajit, this is great. How do I remember this every single time something happens? How do I really recall this? Well, one of the ways to stay in the presence of growth and trainings and learnings like this is to stay in the mode of learning. So continue on this path by clicking on this link. On this link, you will find more methodologies, more tools, more techniques that will help you elevate yourself as a person, that will help you get out of those spirals, that will help you to have a more positive, more impactful life. I'll see you there.